Peter Wright and Phil Taylor slugged it out right to the death. And the home favourite, Wright, came through to the delight of the Scottish crowd here in Glasgow. What a game we've just witnessed. Taylor actually had the higher average of 107 to Wright's 105. 13 180s for Peter Wright, 6 for Phil Taylor, and 4 whopping ton-plus finishes for Phil, who only just missed out. Right at the end there, we are pretty much breathless after that. It was an absolutely extraordinary contest and an absolute pleasure to be here in the Braehead Arena watching that, Alan. We would have paid our 30 quid to watch it, never mind this lot.
I'm out of breath. I thought I was an athlete. Listen, when you get a game like that, it's an absolute joy to watch. This is what our game is all about, because it had almost everything. High scoring, high finishing, the game went to and fro, the crowd got involved. There was tension up there, and we got our last leg decider. What more do you need?
We've talked so much in this tournament, haven't we, about Michael Van Gerwen and how it's almost processional, what he does to the opposition and what have you. But then we get a match like that, you remember what it's all about, and the nip and tuck and the quality of the two players going toe-to-toe right to the end. It
was quality all the way through. We must forget, I think there was probably only 2 occasions where there was 2 real mistakes, one from each player. So it had the meaning of sort of going to the last leg, and that's exactly what happened. It was just great. I mean, I commentated on the game there, and I almost lost my voice at the end because it didn't look like it was going to happen. Phil Taylor missing those match darts and really putting it back in Peter Wright's court, and he took his chance. As soon as he got to that last leg, the crowd really got involved in you know, sort of the last bit of the match and got him over the line, really. Well, brilliant, I loved it.
It was absolutely brilliant. Well, you don't even have to be
sit down.
You don't have to be a huge darts fan. You could have just turned over, heard there was something going on ITV4, switched it over and enjoyed every single minute of it.
You just sometimes don't get what's happening in the audience, the noise levels and how much they were getting involved in the game all the way through and at crucial points and certainly on that last leg. And when Phil Taylor missed the double, they cheered when he missed it because they wanted Peter to have another throw to take it to a later stage, but there were some crucial moments, and that double 16 there, he couldn't believe it, and then missed it again. You know, these are match-winning darts, and it's unusual for any top player, but certainly Phil Taylor in what he's achieved in the game. He's been in this position so many times not to do it, and as soon as this one went in, well, the roof was absolutely raised to its highest point. The noise levels were incredible.
Well, Phil missed 7 match darts in total. How much of that do you think was down to what was going on in the crowd? Very partisan Scottish crowd, as you would expect, the Scottish flag, the booing, everything that went on.
Well, I mentioned it in commentary at the start because he was doing a few things to the crowd and almost enjoying it. Now, when you're throwing for the treble, it's not as bad, but when you're going for the double and you miss and the crowd get involved, you do hear it, and when you miss, the next time you go for a double, it's even harder. The double just seems that little bit smaller.
And he went for the bull right at the end, didn't he, to win the match, and absolutely gripping stuff right to the very end.
He had a few attempts at the bull, didn't he, and he couldn't quite hit it. And Peter Wright must be thinking, please, just give me one more shot. The crowd jumped up, he could hear the score. He knew he was going to get one more opportunity. Kept his composure, he knew this was his moment. He stepped up to the hockey, and bang. He looks pretty cool there, pretty calm. I can assure you inside, his heart had been racing. Jo looks pretty happy there. She can't believe what's happened in the game. I'm sure everybody at home as well. It was a high-quality encounter and a joy to watch.
And how much credit goes to Peter Wright for holding his nerve right at the end there? Because it's all very well having the crowd behind you, but it doesn't necessarily always play to your advantage, bearing in mind you've got the extra expectation on you.
Probably doesn't if you're not playing well, but he knew he was playing well. That was the key. He's been playing well all the way. Well, in the tournament, he's got better as the tournament has gone on, but in that match, he played well all the way through. There wasn't really many points where his game dipped. Even if Phil Taylor had a good leg, he was there and thereabouts, and vice versa for Phil. So it kind of deserved to go to the last leg and get that tension. It was really good.
Now, this time last week, Mensur Suljovic had just made it through to his first ever major TV final. This isn't the first time, of course, for Peter Wright, but of course he does have far less time in which to prepare. Michael Van Gerwen, every time he goes through first, has longer to prepare. How do you think it's going to affect Peter now? Do you think he's still going to be on a high and that will carry through to the final in quarter of an hour's time?
I think he'll be okay, yeah. I mean, we say they're used to it, these players, but it can't be easy when you've got a high-octane game like that, when everything's been involved in it with the crowd and the tension and everything else. to get yourself down. He looked quite calm at the end there, I've got to say, but I'm sure inside he was racing a little bit, but it's obviously very difficult to get yourself down. He'll have to sit down for 5 minutes and then he'll say in his head, right, come on, we've got a final to play here, got a tournament to win, back on the practice board, ready for the shout from the tournament director, and then back on. Simple as that.
Brilliant.
Sounds it anyway.
I'll tell you what, I can't wait for this final. We're going to catch our breath for just a second, but Ned Boulting is down on the stage behind us with a certain Chris Mason, and they're going to reflect and maybe look ahead, lads.
That's right, Jackie. We're stood on the stage, which is kind of still steaming from the heat of that contest, isn't it? It was remarkable. We were backstage, Chris, biting our fists off, basically, with the tension of it. What must it have been like to be right up here in the thick of it?
Oh, it just had everything, didn't it? Drama, big scores, tense moments, a bit of the crowd as well. Yeah, it was some match, and you got to feel for Phil Taylor, really. I mean, his last 7 losing games on TV, I think his average is over 105 now.
Yeah.
I mean, that every time, 105, 107, 106, and he's getting beat. But all credit to Peter. He showed so much bottle and composure as well.
Yeah, which brings us to the point, really. You know, this hyperinflation in the averages. We look at that match and we go, well, 105, 107, Taylor loses. We almost expect, when it gets to the business end of a tournament now, to see 110, 115, and we're almost disappointed. I mean, when did it start becoming so ridiculous? In your day, you know, winding back a few years?
I think with the advances in technology and the board quality, you go back in the 80s, never mind the 70s, but you look at the boards in the 80s, great big thick wires,
well,
they would move.
Show us what you mean.
Well,
because
the modern board now is made totally different. This actual blade is now forced into the sisal, so there's no staples. As you can see, it's just all a clean finish, and when you look at it, it's inviting. And obviously with this type of wire and not the big round wire, you've got more target area. You know, it's effectively a bigger board, and probably in terms of what was around in the 80s, it's probably something like maybe 15-16% bigger than what, say, Bristow would have been playing on in his heyday.
That can't be more than a millimetre or two, can it, in thickness? But I mean, Chris, that's not the only reason, is it? I mean, just all round, you know, the number of players who are capable of great things has increased, and so there's a kind of, you know, ridiculous competition.
Yeah, I think if you look at the snooker of the 70s and 80s, and then that sort of created, you know, your monsters like Hendry and Williams and O'Sullivan and Trump, what is nowadays, and Ding, and, you know, what basically happens is the whole game became more professional. The conditions they're playing in, the amount of events to play in, the prize money, you know, and I think all that transfers into players being, you know, whether it be more dedicated or more professional, who knows. I'm not saying the boys back in the day weren't more professional, but, you know, they would go months without a tournament.
I mean, Chris, what is it going to be like for Peter Wright and Michael van Gerwen? I mean, at the moment, conveniently, they're kind of ignoring us up here.
Fortunately.
Fortunately, they're just kind of minding their own business and having a little drink, getting ready for the final. But when Phil turns around and he hears that in his ears, and he's got to literally, physically deal with it.
Yeah, I've had it. You know, some places you can get a group that take a dislike to you for whatever reason. Obviously, it's different up here. It's Scotland versus England. You know, they're very passionate about their sport up here. They want a Scottish winner desperately, you know, to follow the likes of Gary Anderson. And, you know, and it is, I mean, I never dealt with it very well. You know, it's easy to deal with when you're winning and you're in front. You know, it's not, you can laugh it off.
Yeah.
But in a match like that, it's a little disappointing. You can understand, well, I can't condone it. You sort of understand it. But I'm one of these, I love the old days when they had the best of order, and you know, but obviously the game's moved on now, so is the prize money, so is the amount of people coming to watch the game. But yeah, I prefer the players deciding who wins, not a couple of thousand people.
Yeah, well, it's going to be fantastic. I mean, just to put this into context, I'm standing about this far away from Chris Mason, who's got one of the deepest, loudest voices in humanity, and I'm struggling to hear what he says. And these are only just chatting amongst themselves. When the racket gets up, I'm not sure necessarily it comes across in television. It is a cauldron of noise in this place. That is pretty much what we can guarantee when the final gets underway. Back to you, Jackie.
Thank you very much, Ned and Chris. Yeah, brilliant atmosphere down there. I had a little wander out to the TV trucks, actually. I posted a little video on Twitter of what it's like down there when those two are playing just now. Absolutely wonderful atmosphere. You must get down to the darts if you haven't actually been in the flesh. It is brilliant. Well, I'm sure the numbers are going to be impressive in the actual match tonight. The final is Peter Wright against Michael van Gerwen again. So it means a repeat of last year's classic final, hopefully, here in Glasgow.
Finale to the first ever staging of the World Series. The worst possible start for Peter Wright. Incredible turnaround in this final.
What a contest we have on our hands here. Oh, what a great finish. And he's taken it.